Good evening, everyone. The time is 7:02. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Vice President Ferguson, could you do the invocation, please?
Good evening, everyone. Father God, we just give you the honor and we give you glory, and we thank you for keeping us safe another day. We ask that you would help us to be productive tonight. We ask that you would help us be productive tonight as we govern and as we do the business of the city. Let us align ourselves because we know that align ourselves with your will, Lord Jesus, because we know that it is your will that ultimately needs to be done. Father God, we ask that you grace us with your wisdom and understanding that we could govern effectively. We ask that you will bless our citizens, bless our employees, and all that is affiliated with us. In Jesus' name we pray, amen and amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Councilwoman Fareed?
Here.
Councilwoman Guillaume? Councilman Hairston?
Here.
Councilman Herring?
Here.
Councilwoman Jones?
Here.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Here.
And Council President Curtis?
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, by unanimous consent, the agenda is hereby adopted. First on the agenda is public comments on pending legislation. Citizens online and citizens in council chambers. If you wish to speak on legislation, please raise your hand. If you're in the house, raise your virtual hand if you're online, and then I'll recognize you and you have 5 minutes to speak on pending legislation. Just for clarity, public comments tonight are limited to pending legislation. If there are other things that you would like to discuss, then you are welcome to come back to the regular session next Monday where you can, Tuesday, because Monday is a holiday, where you can speak on those things, but tonight's comments will be limited in scope to just the things on the agenda. All right? With that being said, the floor is open to citizens' comments. Are there any? Any online? Okay. Well, going once. Going twice. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the presentation by Nichols Construction. Is there anything you need to share your screen? Are you signed into here? Okay. Could you give me host privileges, please?
I think because I'm on a co-host.
Mr. Gray, could you give me host privileges, please, for the online?
We have it.
Thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. I don't have it yet, Mr. Gray.
You have hosts.
He meant you host. Okay. Or at the very least, allow sharing.
Okay.
and then you can make me host afterwards. Are you good? Mr. Graham, still not the host.
There you go.
Ah, okay, thank you. All right, you should be good to go to share your screen.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of the councilmen and women here today for allowing us to come in and chat through this. Thank you, Council President, for going through the trouble to allow me to share my screen as well. I appreciate that. My name is Robin Merhada. I'm here from Glenarden. We are a company that works with governments all over the country as well as internationally to help public construction. This is just going to be more of a refresher. I'll only take a few minutes to breeze through these slides and then pass it off to Jerry from the Nichols contracting team. But I think it's important to understand the role we play and how we work with the state of Maryland, which is the method of which you are using to get some of these projects completed. It's going through the state of Maryland. Glenarden administers it, and therefore work directly with Nichols Contracting. And feel free to stop me at any time with questions. Typical construction challenges, biggest ones here are rising costs have reduced spending power, as you see in the top right. How can you make the most of what you're getting, the biggest bang for your buck, understanding accurate construction costs, and understanding how to meet project timelines and budgets. I'm sure that that's a huge part of doing work for the city is maintaining budgets, maintaining proper timelines, and understanding how you can work through a program that's auditable. And that's really the point of this today, is to show you how working through the state of Maryland creates an auditable program that you can use. So what do we provide? We provide a service called Job Order Contracting that you can see at the top, JOC. That's the acronym that stands for Job Order Contracting. It's a competitively bid contract that ensures you have an umbrella contract. What that means is instead of having to do 3 jobs separately, you can do multiple projects under one contract. That's pre-bid, and the costs are preset. So I'm not going to read through this, but this is a typical solicitation process. It takes months on months on months for you to pretty much have projects approved, pass through, create the proper documents, make sure you go through the proper process. And then this is steps 1 through 10. Steps 11 through 15 that aren't listed on here is go through negotiation, deal with possible change orders and contractors asking you to spend more money, as well as probably having to sit in front of some type of board of public works and verify an audit at the end of your fiscal year. What we do is create programs. Specifically today, the one I'm talking about is the one through the Maryland Department of General Services. That's DGS. So Maryland DGS is Maryland Department of General Services. They went ahead and solicited Glenarden to create an umbrella contract on their behalf that they can use for themselves, as well as other state agencies like State Highway, MTA, MDOT, and independent agencies in the state, such as cities, municipalities, counties, K through 12 school systems, higher educational institutions that are public, such as yourself, to use. On the left-hand side, you can see that a lot of those steps have already been done up front. In the middle, that creates one umbrella contract for the state of Maryland through the Department of General Services that you can use to complete all of those projects on the right using one contract vehicle, because we went ahead and did the solicitation, the competitive bidding, the awarding, making sure that contractors are in good standing with the state, all of that up front against a preset task catalog. So that means the prices are also preset. So what that means for you is it simplifies the procurement process. You have a faster response time to get projects started and completed. It improves the quality of work because you have competitive contractors, right? And a system that ensures that you will be following and completing work in a certain way. You eliminate negotiations. You reduce change orders if come close to zero because the construction is procured at once. So you shouldn't have someone saying, you need to change this and change that and charging you for it. It should all be done up front. Really, only thing you need to know here is our expertise all the way on the right. We invented job order contracting in the 80s as a solution for NATO to build airstrips around the world. Turned it into a solution for public agencies across the United States as well as all over the world. So you're dealing with the folks who quite literally invented this. And we help you from start to finish, everything from the first project to maintaining that facility or building. And then once it's time to renovate or change or alter that, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we're here for that as well. So it's a full suite solution. So this is the best example of what that means. Is on the left, you can see the typical solicitation process. You're doing 3 projects, 3 processes. On the right is kind of the way it works with Gordian through job order contracting. You can have one umbrella contract to do multiple projects under. And this is a 5-step process of how that works. We'll typically meet on site. We'll help you come up with a detailed scope of work. Once walking the site, we'll have the contractor put together a line item proposal that includes all materials and quantities it takes to complete a project. Then we'll ensure that proposal is accurate, review it, negotiate on your behalf, and then send that over to you for review, and if you'd like to proceed or if you'd like to make any changes. This is what the contracts look like for the state of Maryland. The state separated Maryland into 4 segments. They have the central part, the southern part, the eastern part, and the western part of the state. Each part of the state, and on the right-hand side, you can see a zoom in of the southern part of the state, which technically the city of Glenarden is located in. The benefit for you there is each one of these zones or regions has its own price book. So the prices you pay for construction and materials is different and unique to you compared to someone across the Bay Bridge or someone up in Carroll County or someone over in Wacomico County or someone over in Washington County. It's specific to the region you're in, ensuring accuracy and auditability if you ever need to go and explain why a price for construction is the price it is. It's backed up by data and not only cost estimating data, but RS means data, which has been the gold standard for construction cost estimating since about the 1920s. Yeah, that's really all I have, and I'm going to pass it over to Jerry. There is a rider agreement, and he's going to talk about the feasibility study project and the elevator project. That's all I've got. Thank you, Council, for allowing me to do that short presentation. As mentioned, I've gone over some of that before, and I'm happy to send this back out if anyone would like more information. And if you've got any questions for me, I'll take a moment to do that before handing it off to Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Are there any questions from Council?
I have one.
Councilman Jones?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Council President. The rider agreement, that's a rider agreement between you and Nichols Contracting?
Thank you for that question, Councilwoman. It's a rider agreement between you and the state of Maryland that says we are okay with piggybacking or riding their contract.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you. That gives great clarity.
Are there any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Hello, council members. My name is Jerry Robinson. I'm with Nichols Contracting. I'm the account manager. We currently have over 20 active IDIQ contracts. We work hand in hand with municipalities such as yourself, utilizing resources such as Gordian in order to fast track services in order to get your construction needs met. We are currently working about 16 active contracts through DGS and different enterprises, contracts that you guys ride in order to allow us to continue work. I've currently bid out on a few of the projects so far, one of them being the feasibility study. I think that's where we landed for the police station. Pretty straightforward. Biggest thing that we need to come down to is there's a handful of needs that you guys have when it comes to a police station. We need to find out specifically what those needs are before we can actually move forward on any type of construction process. Last time I spoke, I gave a presentation on a ROM cost, like a rough order of magnitude of what that cost may be throughout the process. So the feasibility study that we had sent over to you is the baseline cost of that to get that process started. Did you any questions regarding the feasibility study for the police station?
Yes.
Councilman Herring?
So basically, what is that going to? I read through here, but in layman's term, what is that going to entail?
That will entail, so that's just going to be the architect that we're working with recommended over. They specialize actually in police stations and fire departments, so public buildings. They have done several in the current area. They actually have one currently that they just built through Perryville that was around the same size scale of what you guys are looking for, same order of magnitude. Might actually have a few less options of what you guys are currently considering, but out of all of out of everything that we found that architect would probably be the best suit for you regarding a new build on a police station. Now, what they're going to be going through is just finding out exactly what are your base need lines are. I've spoken with them saying that it might not be a full-fledged police station regarding cells, regarding you have specialized toilets, you have bulletproof glass that's going to be going in, but more of like along the lines of an office space for your current active officers to work out of. So what we need to figure out is that whether or not the addition build is going to be feasible for you to be able to become code compliant. There are some issues that come into play regarding how big that you're actually allowed to build out on top of this building, how many issues you might run into if you build too big and then have to renovate the entire building to bring it up to code. So there are various amount of things that can come into play. That's what they're there to find out.
So I'm looking at the price. It's almost $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just trying to figure out what we're going to get for $100,000. This does not include architectural designs or anything. Just conceptual designs.
It's going to be conceptual, yeah. So the main thing is that this is actually going to be a drop in the bucket to the entire process. If you're looking for a standalone building or an addition onto this building, you're talking of roughly upwards of millions of dollars. So this is actually a very small portion of what the entire process is going to cost, but it's very critical. One thing I always mention too is that you always want to make sure that your drawings and your specs are very clear and detailed. The less that you spend on the upfront process of it, the more the construction costs become. because when you have details and specs that aren't up to specs, so to speak, you have to have specialized people in order to make those assumptions for you on the drawings, which in the majority, in my experience, tend to be much more expensive. Now, overall construction costs compared to architectural costs tends to be much higher. So it's better to spend a little bit more money up front doing a feasibility study, working with a good reputable architect, and then being able to then discount on construction costs later down the road.
But the cost that's in here now, but you said the construction costs are already locked. Costs are already locked in through Gordian, correct?
Construction costs for the police station is not set in.
They're not set in.
We don't have drawings to build off a spec. Are we looking at a 5,000 square foot? Where are we looking at the new build that's going to go across the street? What do the sewer lines look like? Do we have a floor plan layout? What flooring's going in? Do you guys actually want jail cells? Are we going bulletproof glass? This is all the things that you need to find out before we can valuable quote. Now, we gave you a ROM cost, which tends to be a little bit higher, and what that ROM cost actually did entail was allowing for your building to have an excessive amount of parking. So whether that's going to be attached to the police station or we're building a new parking lot that's going to be across the street, that was also included in there. We understand that that was a very big priority for you, specifically for your guys' gold room.
Okay. I guess I think the biggest issue I have with this is that we're looking at money-wise, building this police department. It seems like everybody that comes and gives us this, because we've had something like this done before, and every time they come back, it's like $1 million higher. Every year we wait, the price is getting when we started in 2008, we thought there was going to be 2.5 million. Now we're all the way up to like almost $6 million.
Exactly.
I think it's almost like $7 million. We're going to go and wait another year, and it'll probably be up to $8 million. Not knowing what's happening with the change of administrations and everything else.
Whenever it comes to architectural drawings, it will come down to how quickly you guys can to speed up that process. So if you agree on a baseline of terms, that can actually be turned over fairly quickly. Now, as far as construction costs, you're 100% right. Prices have increased. Inflation's gone through the roof, not just in construction, but in several other fields. I think that's why we were brought in at this point. We're a job contract, we're turnkey. We get these things done. We understand that there may be an issue with procurement processes. We work a lot with municipalities where you just not everybody understands the entire construction process, what's going to be entailed for it. We cater to that. That's something that we specialize in. That's why we work with job order contracting, and that's what's actually why we devised the entire division for it with our in our company.
See, my concern is this again, is that we don't have the money actually, and we're talking about going to the state to get more money, but now we just been announced that Maryland has a $3.2 billion deficit, so we probably won't be getting any more money, you know. So I think what we need to do as a council is we need to take what we have and say, can you build something with this amount? That'll give you a better idea of what you're working with when it comes down to it. Because again, you're going to come back with an $8 million building, and we'll be sitting here like we don't have $8 million unless we're going to float a bond. And even if we do get another $1 million from the state, which I doubt very seriously we're going to get, we still won't have enough, and we'll have to pull from our reserves to do that. And I'm going to tell you honestly, I'm not in favor of building an $8 million building for anything. If it's going to be an $8 million building, it's going to be this building. Again, I think we need to look at that because again, every year we wait, it goes up $1 million. $1 million it goes up. And so I think we need to be realistic and realize that right now I think we have maybe about $4 or $5 million that we have in hand. Maybe a little bit more if we can get the money from the county. And we need to look at that. And I think we as a council need to look at that and come back with something realistic and not have them do all of this extra work, giving us a 9,000 square foot building that we know we're not gonna be able to afford. So that's my issue with the whole, with the feasibility study. I think you need to be given more information on what we actually can afford and what we actually need.
That's actually the point of the feasibility study, is to find out exactly what you can afford and then build to that. But it's also, there's needs and wants. So we need to figure out exactly what you need, and then we can add on to the wants, but then also they're gonna figure out what that threshold is of how much can we actually afford here.
Well, the studies we had before have already kicked it up to almost $7 million that we had with some of the bells and whistles that they had in that last one. So this is not the first feasibility study. This is like the second one, that we've had. So again, I'm telling you right now, what they're looking for and what the size they're looking at, you're looking at about $7-8 million, easy. You know, and they want brick and mortar.
Yeah, that was
just like, no, we need to look at stick built, you know, because it's really just an office building for the police department, you know, with no sales or anything in it. So I think we need to be realistic and give you better directions and better direction on what we're actually looking for and what we can actually afford. Because you do all of this work and then you're gonna come back and you're going to come back and scale it back to what we can afford. So that's my issue.
Can I just have? I'm sorry, you finished?
Go ahead.
So I just want clarity. So, correct me if I'm wrong, we actually need this feasibility study to see what is feasible for us, whether it be an attachment to this building, whether it be a standalone. And so you go through all this work to compile that data to see what we can actually do, not if we want to build an $8 million facility versus a $2 million facility, but actually what can we do? And then it is to get to, all right, this is what we can do. We can actually do something to attach to the building. Or we can take this site across the street, or that site across the street does not work because the feasibility study came back and said that, you know, that's not land we can build on. So it'll be another site that you can build on, and it can, you know, support, you know, a 10,000 square foot building or something like that. And after that feasibility study, and you get back to the council on what is feasible. Then the council makes a decision on what it is that we are going to do and can afford to do. I'm with you, Councilman Herring, on the deficits at the state level. I don't think we're going to get any more money from the state. So with the money in hand, then I think it'll be on us to decide what's based on the study, you know, what's best for the city. Can we target, if we have, let's say, $6 million in hand, we might want to target something that's $4 million, give us a buffer, or $5 million, give us a buffer, or something like that. But it's my understanding that before we get to that part of deciding what we want, whether $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, attached, detached, that the feasibility study has to come first.
Correct. Yes, correct.
Matt?
Yeah.
Mr. Simpson, didn't we get a study already, a previous study on the police department, and a cost estimate on that?
No, sir. I don't have any records of it.
You don't have any records of that?
No, not to my knowledge.
The $6 million that they had, that they said it would cost previously.
I know there were discussions, but I've not been made aware of a feasibility study.
No, not a feasibility study, a cost estimate on what it would cost. Because I know there's been numbers going back and forth because the chief was going up to Pennsylvania and everywhere else. And
yes, I do know there were different discussions.
From
yes, I know there were different discussions relative to that, and a $6 million figure has been thrown out.
Was the one that was floated around, and that's what everybody was looking for. Because my thing is, we're going down to the state, telling the state we need this much money because we know how much it costs. So now you're saying we went down to the state and we're just guessing and telling them we think it may cost this much.
Well, I would say, as the new city manager, I wasn't part of any of those particular discussions relative to that.
You see, okay.
Yes, sir.
And that's why what this building needs to be in the hands of the city council and the city manager. That's who should be running the show on this, so that we can know what's going on, because numbers are being floated around. I know I've seen that $6 million number before. I saw it a couple of times, and that's what they were running off of. But now, if we can't afford that, then we need to look at realistic. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, the lot across the street, they did a study on that. That has no infrastructure in it whatsoever. No sewer, no electric, no nothing over across the street. You bump out the back of the building, you can do that. You got a lot across the street. You got all the infrastructure in it because there used to be a bank there, so it has all the infrastructure in it that you need for sewer.
Which side?
Right beside Horse and Dickey's, the lot between Horse and Dickey's and the church, where a bank used to be. So there are, I mean, I do know, because we went through this already back in 2008 with the previous developers that came to build Woodmore. They actually gave us an architect that did a lot of that already, and I'm not understanding why it isn't here, and we don't have it any longer. But I'm just looking at realistically, because the steps that the council president just said we will need to take is true if that's what we're going to do, but that's going to drag it out even more. And the longer we drag it out, the higher the cost is going to get. Because again, once you do your feasibility study, you come back and say, okay, well, you can't get a 9,000 square foot. We probably get a 9,000 square foot or whatever over there, but we can only afford a 4.5 1,000 square foot. So you got to come back and you got to downgrade everything. And the study's been done. It can be built there. But I'm just trying to get it built. It just seems like we need to just say, this is what we want, this is what we're looking at. Can this size building, the architects we had in 2008 did a study, and they had a building that would fit in that location and the other 2 lots that we had. So they said, no matter where you wanted it, that's where you can get that building there. So I'm just trying to make sure that we can move forward, because I'm telling you, this has been dragging on now since 2008. This is 2025. We're talking 17 years, and no building has been built yet. And again, we're trying to get our officers in something. So I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way, most efficient way to get it done. So if we only going to have $5 million, but you're going to give us a feasibility study that's going to say the building is going to be $9 million, that's a no-starter. That's not even a starting point.
All right, so 2 things.
That's my concern. So
yeah, no, I understand. And just for clarity, because I wasn't here in 2008. So 1, it sounds like, where is that feasibility study? That's 1. 2, I still think there's maybe some misunderstanding or confusion about the amount as it relates, not the amount of the cost of the feasibility study, but as it relates to numbers floating around with the feasibility study that it will somehow come up with that we can afford a $5 million. That is something separate from the feasibility study, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So back to the first one, where's the feasibility study? If there's a feasibility study that was done that we could provide to them, then maybe they can work off of it. 2, if there is no feasibility study to provide for them, I think it will probably be prudent to have another one done. And I don't know if you guys would do anything without doing first a feasibility study.
I have no problem with the feasibility study. That is my issue. It's just that doing the feasibility study, and my thing is doing the feasibility study based on whatever criteria they have out there. What do we want? Okay, if you just say you do a feasibility study for a 9,000 square foot building, and they're going to look at everything and see if you can get the whatever plots we're looking at. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You're doing feasibility. So I'm not sure. What are you doing feasibility? You're just doing it on the land to see if it can hold what?
Land to see and options. Also, a big factor that's going to come into play is what your guys' budget is. So, I mean, it starts narrowing down all of the million different items that come into building a complex.
So then what comes first? Does our decision on what we want comes first, or does the feasibility study comes first?
The feasibility study, yes. I mean, unless you want to jump ahead and look at speccing out drawings to either do a individual build or an addition onto the building, that may be a different conversation, but to be honest, with the code requirements and the feasibility study that you guys have previously done, that was in 2008. Yeah, I mean that a lot has changed since then, especially after the housing crash. So market code requirements, a lot of things changed that may actually not even be, that may not even do anything for us anymore, just because of the timeline on that.
Okay, Councilwoman, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that this is 100%. This is the first step to get us going. Like I said, this is what we do. We're turnkey. If you guys have a certain budget that you have in mind and you need us to take it from all the way from the front to the back to make sure that we're putting that last screw in that building, that's what we do. We're design build general contractor. We're going to be picking up the phones for you. That's exactly why we've been brought on. This is what we do.
Okay. Councilwoman Jones?
Thank you. And sir, in reading through the document concerning the feasibility study, you're going to look at all 3 of the lots that the city has suggested that might contain the police department.
That's correct, yeah. The architect's going to be looking at all the proposed locations for it.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's to find out also what kind of infrastructure is there to be able to sustain a police department.
That's correct, yeah. They're going to be looking at sewer, electrical, power, whether or not the soil is going to be good enough, how big the location is going to be. And another thing, too, is parking.
Right.
We want to make sure that if whatever you're spending your money on, we know that you guys need additional parking for a lot of things down the road. So we want to make sure that you guys are set up with a big parking lot on top of that.
All right. Thank you, sir. Council President.
All right, so it's, any more comments? Any more loose ends that you need tied up?
No, it's going to be loose ends until we get it built.
But we are in agreement that we do need a feasibility study.
mean, I have no problem with this feasibility study. I
Okay.
just think that, yeah, I have no problem with the feasibility study.
All right. So then the next steps.
Go ahead.
So the next steps will be to draw up a resolution for.
It's,
Do we have this already?
isn't it his?
Oh, sorry. I don't have the packet in front of me. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a part of everything. Okay. And was that a part of the 2025 budget?
Nope.
No. So I'm sorry?
We have 1 million set aside for the building.
Right, there was 1 million put in, set aside for the police department.
That was in capital budgets. Oh, okay.
Mr. President, man.
Yes.
So the $400,000 grant we got from the state, that's not included in the budget?
Yes, that's there as well.
That's there as well, right?
But remember that we haven't actually received that fund as yet.
It's reimbursable?
I think it is reimbursable, but today I got an email from the chief saying that we need to start doing the activity to get the application to get that funding.
We haven't spent any of it though,
From
have we?
reserves, we have set aside $1 million.
Okay, we need to hit that grant because if they're going to be making budget cuts, they may pull that back. So we got to hit that grant because we've had that now going, what, almost 2 years, right?
Yes.
Going on the second year. So if we're going to do it, then we need to use it against this feasibility study and make sure we hit that grant so it looks like we're using it, we're pulling it, because I'm telling you that's what they did before. They pulled back any grant that wasn't being used to close that budget deficit, they pulled back grants. So I would definitely try to get that, use that first.
So it's the amount in the resolution? I don't have it in front of me.
No, that needs to be put in there too.
Yeah. All right. So we could modify it to put in the amount. So you just need to share the amount with Mr. Simpson. Mr. Simpson will get to our council clerk. Okay. So we can put that in there, and then we can move forward with that against the grant. Right, Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I think in addition to this, aren't we also talking about the elevator?
Elevator addition, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we did the rough estimate. We actually did speak with your guys' architect. There were some few structural drawings that were not included into what we were provided, but we have worked with the architect to have us send over the specifications for it. So there are a few line items that we had to make, like I said, our best decision on of our contract. Now we do elevators. We started as an elevator contractor before we moved into a large design build process that grew us into the company we are today. So if there's anything that we know is elevators, whether you want to put an addition, whether you want to throw them in the middle of your building. It's a two-step elevator with the glass front vestibule that's going to be going on front. We are going to be tying in for your HVAC, your electrical. The big thing that we did is that we quoted it to spec. So one thing that to keep in mind there is that there is also the LED backlit light. Now signage can be pretty pricey when it comes to any type of signage on a commercial building can be pretty pricey, so that's what's included in the estimate as well. So there are a few figures in there if you wanted to pull back on to do anything as far as saving some cost on that, but as far as what we were provided, that's that estimate's based on what that would cost.
Councilman Harry?
Yeah, so what signage was included on that?
So in your drawings is a backlit sign for the, it just said, Glenarden offices. So we had a estimate brought out for a backlit sign, just a sign that illuminated in the light.
And so the company that's going to build the elevator is TKE Elevator?
TK is one of the manufacturers, correct?
They're going to manufacture the elevator.
Yeah, once we go toward buyout on the process, that may change. But yeah, TKE Elevator is one of the elevator companies that we work with. Mhm.
So do you have to pre-order that, or?
Yeah, I mean everything's going to have to be bought out for
You
that.
gotta actually
Yeah.
build it to spec.
Correct. Yeah. We do several elevators a year. It's about 50. A portion of our company is about $50 million a year in elevators. So we're well connected in the elevator realm to be able to do whatever you need when it comes to that.
And will that come with a warranty?
Yes. Well, elevators do come with warranties. That'll have to be spec'd out in the final drawings. Once we have everything in order when we go to contract time. That'll label out what is and what isn't under warranty. But usually it's 1 year warranty.
How long?
It could be 1 year depending on what spec it is. It could be from the electrical to the elevator packages to the pumps you guys are using.
Okay.
So one thing to keep in mind too is that when we go through with these bids, we're working with several different companies to make sure that you're getting the best prices possible. So things that we don't self-perform ourselves, obviously will have to be subcontracted out underneath us as a general contractor. So if we get approval on a buy, we then purchase it out. So then we choose which the most affordable portion of that is. But most of our bids do contain the most affordable, which TKE was. Mm-hmm.
And when you subcontract out, the warranty falls on who, you or the subcontractor?
Maybe it's the subcontractor's warrantied out. Mm-hmm.
That could be a problem. Okay. All right, Mr. President.
Are there other questions from council members on the elevator?
Oh, I do have one other question. So when I'm looking at your proposal, so you cost out the labor separate from, that's under the general, I think it's general requirements?
General requirements.
So that's the labor cost?
Yeah, that's specifically, that goes along the lines of facility costs to mobilize onto the job site, and then as well as staffing that's required. So any job that's dealing with an addition or jobs that are after a certain scale, you want a superintendent on site, pretty much just a on-site manager to make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be.
And let me ask Mr. Simpson, so have we pulled off the permits that we need to build this elevator?
No, sir. We have not pulled all the permits necessary. That's something that we will be looking for Nichols Contracting to handle. I believe that may have been spec'd in their proposal as well.
I thought the architect had pulled that out of the permits.
The architect did pull the necessary, I guess, information to be approval for their drawing.
The design drawing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And that's factored into your cost.
That's correct.
Permits. So, yeah, I guess that's the thing. DPI, we got to wait on them. That'd be another issue.
Yeah.
When it comes down to permitting. So, all right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilwoman Jones?
So, thank you, Council President. So that's our next step, is getting the permits, and then after that, we'll start construction, or what is the next?
So next step would be awarding the job. We'd be signing over our information, getting it under contract, and then that'll allow us to move forward. And so that will give us the rights to be able to push forward on your guys' project for you. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead. So has the attorney seen this packet?
No, sir. The attorney has not seen the packet. It was brought to you all for review. And of course, with every other contract, we would send to the attorney for review. I can send it prior to that if need be.
I'm going to ask also, and this on both projects, the feasibility study and the elevator study, that all information come back to the full council. I don't want to, be surprised down the road when something happens and we don't know what's going on. We need to be on top of this, especially the building, the police building, because we're gonna have to make some serious decisions on what we want to do and how we're going to move forward. If we don't, then it's going to just drag on if everybody's not on board and everybody's not informed of what's going on. So I'm going to ask that everything be pushed to this full council. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, did you go yet? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm done.
Sorry. It's been a long day. Sorry, go ahead.
Council members, if I may ask, just to have me included in that as well. Any design build that comes across my desk, I sit in with the architects. I sit in all the meetings for them as well. And again, that's to make sure that it's all going at pace and the way it should be. So if there's any communication internally, if you can just remember to kind of keep me in the loop every now and again as well for what everybody needs. I'll be sitting in on everything.
Okay. And the nutrition center. Is that also?
Council President, they have been tasked with providing that information, and I'm told we should have that hopefully in a few more days as far as estimates relative to what the renovations for the council chambers and nutrition center.
Okay. All right.
So the big concern with the nutrition center would be to actually roll in the elevator project with the nutrition center. Main being is that, like you mentioned in general requirements, having a superintendent on site, we can actually have an active superintendent utilized for both projects. So that'll save you, it's roughly about $100,000 that'll cut that down.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So then we will need that information when that comes in with the elevator, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do need some more information, whether how in depth we're going to be going into those drawings. They spec'd out an entirely new layout, different types of flooring. We have estimated it all out. I think it would just be a bit of a help understanding what. Number one was going to be a budgetary thing, because they have it, some high-end finishes that they do have in there, like porcelain tile, things like that can get expensive. But what the budgetary thing is going to be for that, and that'll also tell us whether or not we have, how many permits we're going to have to be pulling.
So the next steps for that particular piece, you have to get information from us.
Yes, we can send you over the estimate that we have with that so far. I'm not sure if that's even a budgetary thing. So if you had an idea of what you were looking to spend to have the space redone, that could narrow it down. We are going to have to be cutting down some things, but if that's a cost concern for you guys, that's fine.
Council President. So the information that they were given was from the previous architect as far as what the scope was. My thought was once they provided that, then council would determine, scale back, make whatever necessary adjustments accordingly. But we did use that information to provide that to Nichols Contracting to be able to give a baseline for what has been expressed from the council.
Can we have a subcommittee on all this stuff?
Well, me and Ms. Ferguson were working on the council chambers and the nutrition center.
Yeah, because it seems like we need somebody to stay on top of this, all the time. Yeah. So, is anybody opposed to me forming a subcommittee? If anybody wants to be on a subcommittee for this?
What is the subcommittee going to do?
Subcommittee is basically going to do what what did you guys call yourselves for the Charter Review Committee? So you'll be working directly with Mr. Simpson and Nichols, and make sure you guys bring information back to the entire council. It's not like you guys are going to make the committee will be making the decisions. But as far as things like looking at the drawings, it will be no need for us to look at a $2 million drawings when the subcommittee can look at it and say, okay, well, this is just ridiculous. Let's scale this back, and then present something that's feasible to the council so that we can all look at it and then make a decision on it.
think it should be the decision of the full council. If it's $2 million and they think it's too much, and we've set a price, and that's something that the council need to look at. Because again, if they make the choices and then they come before the council, and then we say, okay, well, we want to look at it again, and we want to do, I just think it's going to just draw it out. Because you still got to bring it before the full council. And then we're going to have to ask questions, and then it's going to just more of this, and then it has to go back to him, and then you have to make the changes, when we can just get the information and just like, okay, $2 million is not enough. What are we going to do? How are we going to break this out? How are we going to break it down? What are we going to do? What are we going to cut out? I'm just saying that I've seen a committee just drags things out sometimes. When you do, they may get it, but they got to bring it back to us, and it still got to go before the full council, no matter what, to make a decision. Because I know I'm not voting on no $1.2 million on anything if I don't know what's going on and I don't have a full understanding of what's going on, And like I said, and everything is always relayed the way it is presented. So sometimes you want to hear from the actual person.
So I get that, and I think that each council member has a different appetite. Yours is a lot different from.
Yeah, mine is that I care about the city's tax dollars, and I'm going to make sure they get spent wisely.
But the point being is, would you be opposed to being on a subcommittee?
Would I oppose being I'm not sure what you want to bring back to this. I mean, I could do it. Me personally, I am opposed to a subcommittee because, I think that all the information for projects of this magnitude, for this kind of money, needs to come before the full council, and decisions need to be made by the full council, not 3 people saying this $2 million is too much. Okay, come back with something else. Because then some council members a majority may say, hey, $2 million is fine. You don't know. You don't know. You never know. You never know which way they're going to swing. I'm just saying, we all got to be informed of what's going on. That's a lot of money. And to make a financial decision on $1.2 million or $1.3 million for something that we're going to sit there and even the subcommittee brings back everything and the full body discusses it also. So they could do it. They're going to bring it back to us anyway. And we're going to have to sit here and go over it again.
All right, so we'll talk offline. I'll convince you offline. All right. So with that being said, we'll talk about this offline, and then we'll get back to you guys with, so we could just stay on top of it, because the idea is that, the flexibility of some of the council members to be able to regularly meet, maybe during the day or during the morning or evening time, just to continue to push this thing. For one, I would trust Councilmember Herring to make good fiscal decisions, seeing how he, is, rather frugal with the budget. So anything that you brought to me, that's not an attack. That is,
personal attack.
So anything that you brought to me that I would trust that, it's gone through a rigorous process, but we'll talk about that offline. All right. Is there anything else?
No, that's all. We work with municipalities such as yourselves, and we're completely understanding of frugal budgets. So that's exactly why I said we double up on the staffing for both the jobs. That's going to save you quite a bit of money. Okay. In the meantime, we have the feasibility study that should come back for vote Monday. No, I'm sorry, Tuesday. So at least we'll be able to, if that passes, get that rolling. All right. Any other comments, questions from council before we adjourn? I don't know. Was that all, council? Was that all, Mr. Simpson? All right. Seeing no questions, the time is 7:55. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.